All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Woohoo! Last home game of the year. This is season is kind of coming down, winding down. It's kind of sad. You can count on one hand, well, less than one hand, the number of games Notre Dame has left. We have the home game against Boston College, an away game at USC, and then bowl game TBD. Probably impossible that Notre Dame makes the playoffs this year. And that's where we're at. Thank you for joining the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. I am Joe, your humble host. No co-host right now. I don't know where Red Snapper's been. He's been a slacking. But I am at faithful_Irish on Twitter. And the show is everywhere you can find podcasts. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, right? YouTube channel, Fighting Irish Faithful. You can email me if you want. You know what it is. It's fightingirishfaithful@gmail.com. And tonight, we're going to kind of do three parts here of the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Navy game, a little bit of, because I think it needs to be discussed based off of some of the problems we saw. We have some new recruiting news, which is pretty huge. And of course, we'll talk about the backup college. We'll do everything in our power to not call them Boston College tonight. We will call them backup college, bull poop college, bull crap. We'll call them bull crap college. Yeah. Inferior Jesuit University. Anyway, this is episode 25 of season 3. So thank you for joining volume 77. But without further ado, who's been very patiently waiting, we will bring in the Wookiee here. We've invited you to speak, sir. And I think since you've been waiting so patiently, we're going to give you, I don't want to say like your own theme here, but we're definitely going to do something special here. But Wookiee, welcome back.
Well, thank you. It is great to be back, and I personally like bullcrap college.
Bullcrap college, exactly. Now, Wookiee, this doesn't have to be your theme, but this has kind of been inspired by you, sort of. Well, no, this is the one for 5 Foot Nothing Pod. If he jumps on yours is somewhere else. Yours is that epic one.
Yes.
Which who knows where it is? I'd have to do it. But anyway, enough of theme songs. You know, this isn't baseball where you have a walk-up song, right? So
I'm not a pitcher.
You're not a pitcher, right? Well, it's like, you go up to the plate, like now batting for the Cincinnati Reds, right?
Hey, good plug.
Well, I'm not. I just know you're a Cincinnati guy. So, but people have that walk-up music, right? And when they get, just kind of, it's an expression of their personality, I guess.
Yes.
And or just whatever. So, but anyway, we can talk more about Navy. We can talk about the new recruit, Kenny Minchey, who looks like he's flipping to Notre Dame, or we can talk about
I can't believe that.
The bullcrap college. So,
well, I just want to start off with saying, how in the hell did Al Golden's defense let number 4 team score like 14 points against us, I guess, and then come back to Navy and they score 32 on us?
Yeah.
That's what I'm scratching my head about. Like, I don't understand that at all. And there was no major differences or personnel changes that would have made that happen. I can't fathom it.
To address the personnel piece real quickly here, we did have Brandon Joseph and J.D. Bertrand out for the Navy game. However, I started charting plays because I think there was at least 4 times, anyone from our first contributor all the way to the end, and then a handful of people in between. A ton of people were talking about the stats that I usually go through, yardage and things of that nature. And where was Notre Dame the first half versus the second half. Now, unfortunately, charting plays actually takes a long time, and I totally underestimated how long it would take, or at least from the sense of my brain being able to grasp it. So, so I did come up with something that would actually help me figure out what was happening and what we were doing well as far as who was moving the ball well. And I got pretty much through the whole first half, but I had not gotten to the second half, which was the half that was key. But what I will say is, so Navy did not score on their first possession, but they scored on their second, and then they scored on their third. But then 3 possessions in a row, they got nothing. They had an interception, and then they went 3 and out with a blocked punt, to which Notre Dame scored right after that in one play, and then 2 plays to end the half. And so Notre Dame was flying really high and scored really quickly twice against Navy. So everyone was feeling really good in the second quarter because Notre Dame was fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree. The first half I was feeling good, and then I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah. So unfortunately, and I'll get to this later in the week via Twitter, tweets, and kind of like what I did last week when people were inquiring about. I think it was you inquired about how well is Al Golden relative to Navy and whatnot. And so that ended up in a tweet just because it wasn't ready in time for our podcast, and I was already late last week with a show anyway. But it's Tuesday night, it's podcast night, and I've been busy at work, so I'm not charting Notre Dame's plays versus Navy on my employer's time because I like staying employed. So
life happens, man. All good.
You have to pay bills and buy food.
I know. What is that? What is bills? What is this crap?
What's this bill stuff? Yeah. Well, I mean,
let's play football.
that's how we paid for the Yamaha mixer that we're all speaking into here. So, but anyway, so back to some football here. So, I mean, you didn't chime in on the Navy postgame show, so we'll give you the opportunity here. And Patrick, I see you. Welcome. Thank you for joining in and listening. But back to you, Wookie. Other than the abysmal second half, or is there anything else you want to discuss about the Navy game, or just vent or questions? What do you got?
I don't really have any questions or anything, but just the sheer fact of 1 week to another with two key players out just changed the whole tone of that defense during the Navy game. And I was just amazed, okay, this team, 32 points, isn't that the highest this season that anybody scored on us?
Good question. Let's see here. I can actually do this really quickly. It looks like North Carolina scored the exact same number of points, but Notre Dame had 45.
Okay. Yeah, so I was like, how did he allow number 4 score 14 and then Navy score 32, and there was only 2 key players out? He had to have made some adjustments that just weren't working. That's the only thing that the subs just were not working.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know specifically what was happening from a defensive standpoint. I do know that Notre Dame got, Navy kind of had to play catch up and had to start slinging it more than they wanted to, especially with their backup quarterback who looked pretty good, quite frankly. And even in the first half, I was able to chart this is, Navy did have, in the first half, they only had 1 passing play that's not true. They had 3. So they had an interception, which was called back, and then for the holding penalty, which sucks. and then they scored in that same possession. But so that interception kind of counts, but not really. But then they had another one later in the half, and then they had two other passes, one incomplete and one for 34 yards, believe it or not, to Walker.
Whoa,
so
yeah.
Their first pass was a 34-yarder, and it's like, I don't even know if Clemson even had that at all against Notre Dame.
I don't think they had a big play. I don't think they had a big play.
Yeah, we can look that up here real quick here. Passing, receiving by Clemson. Their longest reception was a 22-yarder caught by Davis Allen, and that's it.
Yeah, that was the subs right there. That's what that was.
Figure that shit out. That Navy had a better, longer pass than Clemson. Interesting.
And
that was Navy's longest pass of the night. So.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So the defense.
Let's move on.
The defensive standpoint is pretty abysmal here, and again, we want to chart more plays, and I will continue to do this to see if we can find some other kernels of wisdom and nuggets buried within the numbers from a quarter to quarter, drive by drive kind of standpoint, because I did a very macro view looking at the whole game, and it's like, well, yeah, Notre Dame wasn't great in these situations, but over here they were actually pretty good. So and I haven't yet totaled like how great Notre Dame was in the first half as far as like what's their completion percentage and things of that nature. Now I could probably do that real quick, but it looks like Pine only had 3 incomplete passes the entire first half.
Wow.
And he had 14 completions for a grand total of 237 yards. Or excuse me, 234 yards. So if he had 234, we can do some quick math here. 234 subtracted from Notre Dame's total of passing of 269. I know this is bad radio. I should be more prepared, but I'm not.
No, you're good. Hey, life happens, bro.
You know how much? That's 35 yards the whole second half. Vomit.
Wow.
So, yeah, figure that out. So what exactly is happening? I don't know, but that's kind of the piece here. So I think we're going to do a different format here. Wookie, we're going to leave you on, and we're going to bring people on to talk about topics rather than going from person to person tonight. Let's kind of change it up. Let's go from topic to topic. So let's keep talking about Navy, and if no one wants to talk about Navy, we'll move on to the next topic, which is Rich Knee, which I'm sure people want to talk about. So I saw Patrick here, Patrick Lynch. We've invited you to speak. If you wish to join, that's fine. If not, you just want to listen, that's cool too. We're happy you're listening, though. But Patrick, you've been invited to speak and chime in. Adam Dowling will bring you on too, and Regisan will bring you on. Regisan has changed his background again. Way to go, keeping it different and honest and fresh. I like that. I think I've had the same. Well, no, I got this background changed when we changed the logo, but. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at with Navy. Unless anyone else wants to jump on and talk about Navy, we'll just keep going on. But Regisan 42, you can speak. Patrick Lynch, you can speak, and Adam Dowling, you can speak. Don't be shy. Just jump on. Or maybe you guys just don't want to talk about Navy. You're done. You're sick of it, and let's move on to the bullshit college. For the record, Boston College, I don't hate them. They're a tier 2 hate space team. So
right,
they're like the same level as like a Michigan State or something like that with me.
Like a Georgia Tech.
I don't really care. I mean, Georgia Tech's I'm kind of agnostic to them. I don't know. I'm not too high or low either way. Well, Adam, I see you. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show at Adam_Dowling1.
How are you guys doing? Are we over Navy? Or we just want to just move on?
No, we can move on. We were going to go by topic, but we can jump around. I'm not as prepared as I would like to be. Adam, as mentioned in the previous episode we did right after the Navy game, everyone was like, well, what are the stats first half versus second half? And I started charting plays tonight, and I've never done that really before, and so I was kind of overwhelmed and long story short, it's taking me a lot longer to do. So to actually break things down and say, see right here, and you get like the red yarn on the board, where you're like connecting like things, and you got like the crazy, things on the wall, with newspaper clippings, and I'm talking about, like, I haven't been able to finish all that yet, so.
Yeah, it's all right. There's always two games I hate that we're never seem to be ready for, and it's Navy and Senior Day.
It's Navy and Senior Day. Well, hopefully, we're a little better this Senior Day. I can think of a couple that are good. Now, fortunately, we're not playing UConn at home or Syracuse at home, right? So those are the last 2 years of the Weiss days.
It always seems like the emotions just aren't like there. It's like a weird emotion for those two games.
Yeah. Is it one of those things where you're like, well, maybe, and I'm not saying this is like better or worse, but like LSU is playing UAB on Saturday.
Yeah, it's cupcake weekend in the SEC.
But for your seniors, if you want to get your seniors the opportunity to play, maybe there's something to say about that. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what we do, because I actually like having a fairly competitive schedule, and it also is kind of boring if you don't have any, if you're not playing good teams, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and especially we don't play in a conference, so we have to have a competitive schedule. That's you could play in the Big Ten and have like 2 big games all year, but I think I'd rather play our schedule.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, what you mentioned Senior Day. Is there anyone you're looking out for in particular who's going to have their last game at home? Certainly the seniors and the grad students.
Really, I just really want them to, like. This year's been so crazy on our like ups and downs. So I just would hope that they just play real good and take care of business, and then we could start getting pumped for that SC game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because I think if we take care of business, and it's just most years I would never even question it with the team they're playing, but this year it seems like they play to the level of competition all year long.
Well, that's problematic against Boston College because they're really bad right now.
Yeah,
there's a couple things they kind of do okay, but for the most part, Boston College is really bad.
And then I was like, how did they beat NC State? What was NC State, 16?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they beat NC State. They had another halfway decent win as well when I was looking at their schedule here.
Yeah. I'm watching the ratings right now. They're just releasing those ratings, and Notre Dame's 18, it says.
Yes.
Yeah, then, okay. I don't see NC State now. Carolina's 13. Yeah, it's crazy. We could like kill Carolina and Clemson and then lose some of these other games.
And they only beat NC State by 1 point, and similarly, they also beat Louisville by 1 point, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But most of their other games that they've played, they've lost, and they lost by a decent margin. Well, that's actually not true. Their first game against Rutgers, they lost by 1 point, and they did lose to Duke by 7. So,
I'm hoping play, and we're just kind of Then we can go in this SC game and then kind of get ready for next year, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we'll see what happens with the quarterback position and Tommy. But I think like your receiver problems are over because I think, Merriweather's going to be back. Colsey's been showing up. I think Styles is going to do some stuff in the offseason to get better because he was better as a freshman.
Yeah, he's pretty quiet right now.
Yeah, and then you have this whole freshman class coming in. A lot of running, and our old line should be good. And I just feel like that this year was kind of like working some kinks out. I think we should expect some more things next year.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and right now from a receiving standpoint, as far as just overall receptions, Styles, believe it or not, is actually second on the team right now with 26 receptions and 306 yards. Now the problem is, how many touchdowns has he had? He's only had one.
Yeah, he seemed something this year. He just doesn't look as like smooth as he did as a freshman. Like almost looks tight. Like I don't know what it is. He looked faster and like just more natural as a freshman.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, someone who I thought had a good game last week, I know we don't really want to talk about Navy, but Braden Lindsey, who I've been kind of not hounding on this year, but definitely wanting more from him. And not because I'm mean, but because I genuinely think he's talented and want him to do well. Now, what's great is he had 5 receptions in the first half against Navy.
Yeah, he got off the milk carton.
Yeah, definitely. He had 67 yards. He had a touchdown, and said touchdown was one of the sickest catches I've seen from a Notre Dame receiver in probably the season.
Yeah, but it was only an awesome catch because the throw was so bad. It was. Did you see him? He only could throw it 40 yards.
He did make Pine look better, or kind of bail him out. Maybe.
I mean, did you see that? He ran out and only threw it 40 yards. Like,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I almost spit out my shot of whiskey as I took it because I heard you say he made that throw look better. I totally 100% agree on that as I recover.
Well, that's what makes the catch even more impressive, because it's like, oh, not only do I have to get around this defender, but maybe my quarterback is, slacking here.
This right now, I mean, I played quarterback in high school, and I was never. I mean, I got some D1, but like max school like looks and stuff, and I could throw like only be able to throw a football as far as Drew Pine is crazy that he got a Notre Dame scholarship. Like insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I can throw the ball farther than him now at 40 years old. I'm telling you.
At this point, I'm calling for Angeli just to see what he can do against Boston College.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to make about Angeli there. And I've got some numbers here about Pine and whatnot a little bit later. Nothing too crazy, but kind of relates to this recruiting news we got this week. So, all right.
Yeah, well, have you heard of this kid? I mean, I never heard his name
not
before.
Until this week, but now everyone's waving palm branches at him. Well, it won't be palm branches because there'll be snow on the ground in South Bend, so there'll probably be like fir tree, Christmas tree branches that were waving at him. But
I saw he just got invited to that All-American All-Star game too.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, so anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, Kenny Minchey, 6'1.5", quarterback out of Pope John Paul II High School in Hendersonville, Tennessee, decommitted from Pittsburgh yesterday, and news got out immediately that he will be at the game this Saturday and will be making a visit to Notre Dame. And all the recruiting sites are saying that he is going to flip to Notre Dame, and we will have a 4-star recruit joining our recruiting class for 2023. So that's exciting. That's cool.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hopefully he doesn't hate the cold, because it's going to be cold.
Well, he was going to go to Pitt,
so
so I don't know what's more depressing, winter in Pittsburgh or South Bend, Indiana. So, and Notre Dame's a nicer campus than Pitt. I will say that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I was watching some stuff on Malik Zaire. And he was pointing out the way he throws, showing how good he throws a deep ball and drops it in the bucket and stuff. That he looks like a real natural passer.
Well, that's good.
So.
Yeah, well, that's something that Notre Dame really hasn't had in a couple of years. Is someone with a deep threat. Let's face it, Ian Book really couldn't do it. I think Kaiser was really the last one that really did that. I guess Wimbush did have a cannon, but his accuracy and completion percentage and just some of his decision making wasn't always the best. That's
if you think about it, everyone hated Wimbush, but you would love to have him today.
Oh, Wimbush pissed me off. Oh my God.
See, there you go. Exhibit 1.
The inaccuracy. Yes, he had an arm. He did. But the inaccuracy just, I made the wife leave the room a couple of times on when he played.
Yeah.
Normally I every year I put in the Notre Dame quarterback and how well they did and things of that nature. And two of the years I don't have in my spreadsheet, I'll have the Heisman Trophy winner quarterback, their numbers and things of that nature. I do not have either Deshaun Kaiser from 2016 nor Wimbush from 2017's numbers at all.
And Kaiser might have been better in 15.
Yeah, he was.
When he
first came in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, his record was certainly better, that's for sure.
Yeah. He probably should have stayed another year, which would have helped. What would that have been? So that 17 year.
2017.
Yeah, we would have had a pretty good team that year if he would have stayed.
Yeah.
Because
that was the run the ball year, right?
Yeah, we barely lost to Georgia, remember? And then at one point, who did we else?
Well, I think that game was at Georgia, so
we got smoked by Miami.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that game.
Let's not relive that one, please.
That's a really painful memory for me. So,
I think ever since that game though, we've been on an ACC winning streak, regular season games. What's it, 27 in a row? I think.
What was the stat, or what was the
an ACC regular season games? We've won 27 in a row.
Oh,
it's 26 or 27 in a row.
Right.
ACC games.
So are we going to get ACC undefeated shirts or whatever? We should print those off.
We should.
ACC champions.
Champions.
ACC champions.
What? Yeah, when you smoke Carolina and smoke Clemson, doesn't that make you ACC champions?
One would think if we're taking the UCF logic, then yes. Whatever year they self-declared themselves kings of college football, kind of like Napoleon Bonaparte, crowning himself emperor and king of France back in the day. Okay, it's not exactly
kind of like
the
Alabama. Same. Alabama claims the 1973 championship when they lost to Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. It's kind of like the same.
Yeah, and then they have short memories or something. I don't know what.
I claim to be rich, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I claim to be poor, but Uncle Sam thinks otherwise. So.
Yeah, that happens.
There you go. Well, anyway.
What do you think about Boston College? What do you think?
Well, before we jump over to BC, I do want to talk about this Kenny Minchey thing. Okay. So not to cut you off there, but I am excited for Notre Dame to have a decent quarterback recruit in this year's cycle. So hooray for Tommy Rees and Coach Freeman for bringing him on and pulling him away from Pitt. So I'll have some not trash talking with my brother-in-law, but I will remind him, assuming that Minchey commits to Notre Dame, I'll remind my brother-in-law, be like, oh, you guys lost this guy. Anyway, Red Snapper, welcome back to the Fighting Irish Faithful co-host.
Oh, there he is. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, it's been crazy for me at work, so glad I could jump on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to have you back. We just relived some of the Navy, and we are also not referring to BC by their real name, so we're coming up with slurs to describe the backup college.
Nice.
Okay.
Bullcrap college.
Yeah, stuff like that. So, but we're talking about Kenny Minchey, who's expected to flip to Notre Dame, and so he is right now a 4-star recruit per 24/7 composite, a .9123. And I'll come back to that. But currently he's the number 15th ranked recruit of quarterback right now in the country. So that's cool. Best, top 15 quarterback in this class, potentially come to Notre Dame. So that's cool. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So he's going to be joining the rest of our team. And clearly we have a full quarterback room. Now, I think there's opportunity for him to strike if God has blessed him with the ability to chuck balls deep, from 50-plus yards out into trash cans and stuff like that while people are waving broomsticks his way. Then great. Okay. As Adam Dowling pointed out, that may be a problem for Drew Pine, hence the crazy receptions needed by Lindsay to reach around people and do a pole drill. And Red Snapper knows what I'm talking about there.
Exactly. And at least we can put away the mock-up milk carton for Lindsay. We found him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely gone. For sure. For sure. So the thing here that I wanted to talk about is, yes, he's joining the the quarterback room. And we're going to assume for the rest of the show that Minchey is going to join Notre Dame. So welcome to Notre Dame, sir. But he's going to be joining with Buckner, Pine, and Jelly, and who's the other one? It doesn't matter. It's the coach's son, right? He's not going to play anyway. But I wanted to look at where is Minchey as far as 24/7 sports composite relative to Buckner, Pine, and Angeli, who he's going to be competing against. Now, clearly practice is what really matters. How he performs is what matters. But if we just look at how they were coming out of high school in a vacuum, Buckner still has the lead. Now, all of them are 4 stars. Okay. Buckner is the best as far as his grade. He has a 9.9684, and he was the number 11 ranked quarterback in his recruiting class coming in. Now, anyone can jump on, Adam, Wookie, Red Snapper. Who is better ranked percentage-wise? 0.91, and then the third decimal point is different. Who's better, Pine or Minchey? It's really close.
I would say Pine.
I'm gonna say Minchey.
Okay, we'll let Adam be the tiebreaker here. Who is better, Pine or Minchey?
Pine. I would say Pine because he was actually pretty highly rated.
Yes, correct. It is Pine.
Damn.
Pine is 0.916. Minchey is 0.912. Now we're splitting hairs here at the third decimal point, right? But Pine was the number 8th ranked quarterback in his recruiting class versus Minchey is number 15.
I remember watching Pine play in that the Under Armour All-Star game. So I was thinking, this guy, even though he's small, he's got to be good.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And then there's Angeli, who's a 0.896, and he was the number 21 ranked quarterback in the class. Now, Angeli, though, the best thing he has going for him is he's the tallest. So he's 6'3". So for height, he wins. So we'll see what that means. But I thought that was interesting because everyone on Twitter, you think like we just got, I don't know, some 5-star, recruit, the next Peyton Manning kind of thing. Archie Manning was flipping from Texas, right? That would be cool. But that's not what's happening.
I'm still holding out for Arch Manning.
Okay.
Hey, with the way Jeff Saturday is starting with the Colts, who knows? Maybe Peyton takes his interest in Denver and shifts it over to Indianapolis, where he started. Just saying, that would put family in Indiana again.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and that's kind of weird. Like with, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think Peyton lives in.
He lives in Denver.
Does he live in Denver?
He does.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. Huh. Okay. Well, it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I got for Minchey. I'm happy that we're going to get a quarterback. It always keeps our options open. Because there was a few years where we didn't really get anybody, and then it's like, well, who we got in the room here? Who can throw the ball? So, and maybe that's what you need. He red shirts for a year, and then he comes in when CJ Carr comes in. Who knows? And those two duke it out. I'd rather have that, some sort of competition where these guys are kind of competitively going at it in practice. And as such making, each other better, than just one guy coming in and just being, crowned, the prince of the quarterback room. And then, he pees down his leg in the game or whatever, gets a big head or who knows what. So.
Yeah, we're in no place not to take any talented quarterback we can get and create some competition, because our quarterback situation is not good. And you look around the country and see people have better backups than we have starters right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to get whoever you can get and let them compete. And if they don't like it, they can transfer. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's kind of what we're kind of feeding in here. It's like I'd rather stock the room with a couple of 4-stars, and then maybe we get a 5-star every now and then, right? And then, if it doesn't pan out, these guys transfer, or if these guys, want to stay and graduate because they want to be part of Notre Dame, or they're patient and they're buying their time. I don't know, but yeah.
And the thing with Buckner, it's I follow the recruiting pretty close. And he was he was highly touted out of California.
Yes, he was.
And I think he still could play, but the problem is you can't trust him to stay healthy. So you have to get whoever you can get, because, Buckner's been hurt. I think he was hurt in high school, too.
Yes, he was. Yeah,
he
had a knee
hurt
injury
for the spring game. He's been hurt. And it's not all his fault, but it's just he hasn't proven he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Well, and that also goes to back up the running quarterback tends to be injured. You can look at RG3, you can look at how many came out. There's very few that have the longevity of Michael Vick. So to sit there and say that Buckner's style of quarterbacking. Is he going to stay healthy enough?
I mean, look at Navy's quarterback Xavier Arline. Their starter, he goes out, and then their backup Maynor has to come in and did very well. He threw for a touchdown, and he had 51 yards passing and was 4 of 7 through the air.
And you're forgetting. Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello.
You're forgetting Artline was already the backup to Labate for the same reason. Like that, Maynor was actually the third string Navy quarterback.
Dun, dun,
So,
dun, dun.
like that's the whole Buckner thing is. It like Navy should be an example of if you run that much, eventually you end up at your third string quarterback, and how good is he?
Yeah.
And I think Buckner can be a passer too, but I feel like in the beginning of the season we didn't have like this run game, this power run game
Correct.
going like we have now, and I think that would have
You mean in the
protected him a
Clemson
lot.
game?
Yeah,
And the first half of the Navy game, right? So.
and the BYU game, and
And
game.
I'll even add the emphasis with Michael Mayer that it's forced the receiver core to have to step up.
Yeah, and Colsey being healthy has helped a lot too. We kind of forget about him, Colsey. He's made some catches the last few weeks, and him actually playing has helped that core a lot.
Yeah, throughout the season, if you look at everything, kind of going back to the Buckner thing real quick, the other thing Buckner didn't have was the time Drew Pine has had, minus the second half of Navy. Drew Pine has had multiple times dropping back in the pocket and had plenty of time to look. But throughout the season, you see Jaden Thomas making plays, Braden Lindsey making plays and getting open, not getting the ball, Colsey making plays. Just everyone seems to be doing enough to win football games except our quarterback. It's a problem.
Well, I don't think you're wrong, Mike, and thank you, 5'0" Pod, Mike, for jumping on. I really appreciate you contributing and bringing your input. I went and you missed it earlier, but I was talking about trying to chart the Navy game versus the total bipolarness of one half versus the other, as far as how Notre Dame did and how Navy did. And something that jumped off the page is Notre Dame wasn't running the ball like a whole lot in the first half. We had a couple of decent plays. There was a 28-yarder by Estime. That was our longest run. But yeah, Notre Dame had 87 rushing yards in the first half, and then had minus 21, including sacks and shit like that, in the second half. So very, very poor. As far as receiving and passing goes, is probably our best half we've ever had all season. And so there's a little bit of credit we'll give to Pine. Yes, it's Navy, and we'll come back to that. But we threw for 234 yards in the first half against Navy. And that explains being up 35-13 at halftime.
Yeah, and the difference in the two halves.
Now I haven't real quick, and then I'll throw it back to you. I have not charted plays yet for the second half, so I do not have a full understanding and grasp of what happened, from a play calling standpoint, between one half and the other.
Here's very simplistically what I'm aware of. We ran 20 plays in the second half. 2 of them were kneel downs to end the game, so that's 18 plays, because don't count the last 2. In 18 second half plays, Navy blitzed on 7. And the difference was, in the first half, Navy was blitzing, not in that frequency, but they were blitzing enough. In fact, the Estime touchdown pass was on a blitz. The Tyree swing pass was on a blitz. And in the second half, Drew Pine just stopped looking for those, what I've been, several people have called it free access. I never
Sure.
really referred to it as that, but
That makes
he
sense.
or didn't look for or whatever the
Where
story
is the
might be.
blitz coming? You're supposed to look in that direction.
Yeah, the free access. It's. I mean, I just recorded my show yesterday, and I made the joke. I mean, it's like were Pine and Reese like, well, they're not going to blitz again, are they? Well, like they can't blitz this many in a row, can they? And they kept doing it. We kept doing nothing to counter it. It was weird.
Did like Navy watch like Remember the Titans at halftime and that scene where they're like, you blitz all night?
That's how it felt. Like I never seen like I even when I was a kid playing, the first generation of Madden, I'd pray for an all out blitz. All you got to do is just you have one-on-one matchups, and if you're trying to tell me that our receivers are not better than Navy's defensive backs, and you can't beat them on just a thrown up 50-50 ball, we got bigger again. We got big problems, but I think it all funnels back to our quarterback play. And as I jumped on, I heard you guys talking about bringing in quarterbacks and transfers and such. And we have to. I don't care who it is, or I really don't, honestly, because my baseline is this: if Pine is legitimate competition for Buckner, we have serious problems in the quarterback room. If he's any type of competition for the starting role next year, we have big problems. And secondarily, if Buckner is the guy, which obviously he will be, and the next option is Pine, we're back to we have big problems. So we got to bring in something. There's got to be somebody.
I think
The
I
other
will
thing
say
I wanna
this is
throw-
like there has to be like this wild card. Like if we just have Pine and Buckner in the room and that's it, like I think I'm with you right there. It's going to be stale, and it's like, can we expect much difference than what we saw this season? Unless, and then I'll throw it over here to Red Snapper, but I'll drop this one. I'm seeing, if it's me reading the signs, I think we need to have Coach Reese give up his coaching the quarterback title and rather have offensive coordinator title just be full-time.
I can see that. I still want to put a lot of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde first half, second half, tale of two halves solely on the offensive line. The offensive line looked tired second half. They were dealing with all-out blitzes pretty much all second half. I think they just got tired. And you look at the running stats, tackles for loss, sacks, it was atrocious in the second half. So I'm honestly going to put that on the offensive line.
One thing I noticed in the second half, and then going into our post-game show, the Navy game, was, I didn't see a whole lot of the formations like double tight and shit like that we saw against Clemson. Things that were very effective. And yes, I understand that Navy is doing this all-out blitz thing. Okay, but if you have double tight, you now have more guys down up front, and you should still be able to overpower them if you're running to the edge or a sweep or counter towards that direction.
We should have been in a jumbo package the entire second half, just pounding it down their throat with three running backs.
And that's my
with Fred
thing. Like
Clay.
we have
The
superior
whole
athletes,
freaking
and just
second half.
like it's just a weight thing. Just just bunch together and push forward. Push the pile forward. And that might at least temper Navy's blitz frenzy. And have them force them to do something else. Like if you recognize that your opponent is just going Remember the Titans blitz the rest of the night, then okay, you might want to do something different. And that was kind of my criticism at the end of the Navy game. It's like, I don't understand how we can own Clemson, but we can't own Navy just because they're blitzing. I think that's an excuse.
I think Navy outconditioned us. I think they were ready to bring it as
Well, that's probably true.
consistently.
I guarantee you
I'm
they can do
100%
more
sure
push-ups
they
than we can.
outconditioned us. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure their uniforms are much more, polished and, okay.
Oh, for sure. I totally get what you're saying, but it all kind of funnels back to so many people real quick. So many people wanted to, well, that's all on Pine. That's all on Pine. It's execution. It's all on Pine. I'm like, I'm sorry. You can blame Pine all you want. If you're an offensive coordinator and you gained 2 yards of total offense in a half of football, you're going to have to take some of the blame. It just is what it is.
This is one of Pine's best games. He had 4 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, and then the
and
second
he threw
half.
for. No, I'm saying the whole game. The whole game, he had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 269 yards. I mean, shit. I don't do fantasy football, but if he was your starting fantasy quarterback and those were the numbers he put up, man,
You'd be sitting at 40 points.
You'd be smoking a cigar and just being like rubbing it in your buddy's face, right? Like that's what I'm talking about. And for anyone who missed this on Twitter, someone tried to argue with me, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but it's like, oh, like Pine's terrible, and like, yes, he's not great, but I was just like, well, he did halfway decent in this game. And if there's an execution problem, maybe it's a coaching problem or an inability to evolve. And I think that's what 5 Foot Nothing Pod's kind of getting at.
Yeah, just the pivot, because to your all-out blitz comment, all it was going to take was one play to burn that, and do you really think Navy was going to keep trying it? If we burned it once, that was all it was going to take. And or what drove me even more bananas is, obviously from the television watching on ABC, we can't see the whole field. But Orlovsky's sitting there going, Lindsey was wide open. You got to throw that ball. Like, sure. That just makes it even worse. When it's obvious to people in the stadium and we can't see it. And we did have one chance in the second half. And this goes back to Pine and his lack of touch that I've commented on a few times. Mayer was wide open on a wheel route, but he threw a freaking laser over his head. If he literally could have lobbed it. Mayer was open. Like, he had the guy beat. Let him run under the ball, whatever. And that was our one chance, and we missed it. And I don't understand whether it was. I don't know what Reese was saying on the phone. I made the joke. I'm like, was it connected, or was it like some SNL skit where you're not actually talking to each other? You're on a phone, but there's not really any connection. Like, what's happening? Because he's gonna be on the phone going, bro, like, buddy, I'm up in the booth. I'm seeing all these open dudes, and you're just sitting there taking a sack. And your numbers will stay very clean after the first half if you never throw another pass because you're on your ass getting sacked. And yeah, you can blame the offensive line and any running back for not picking up such and such blitz. But at the end of the day, numbers are numbers. If they're sending 8 and you only have 6 or 7 to block, the math is never going to work out in your favor.
Well, and with respect to the math, that's why I go back to some of the formations we showed in Clemson. Yeah. If they're putting 8 guys and you got 8 guys coming up front, right, and they're going crazy blitz, fine. Then we can put guys in the box and we should be able to match them and actually own them because we're bigger. We should be more talented. Like what is Navy doing that's special other than setting a corner on the edge? Okay, that's going to do nothing if you run between the tackles.
Do you guys think that there's some infighting between Heastand and Reese right now? Because Reese is calling these plays and these formations, and Heastand's looking at him like, what the fuck, dude?
I don't doubt it. I really, because...
I don't know the answer to that.
Everything you just said, I don't know the answer either, but I would feel like, Mike, you're on a good track there, because if everything you just said, Joe, we have the personnel to combat all of what they were trying to do. It's not like Navy was running the triple option version of a defense where it was impossible to figure out, because they have to defend what we're lining up as, and we're lining up in a traditional offense.
Mhm.
And it's not like they were doing some exotic defense that we've never seen before or whatever.
Yeah.
But we have all the people in place, as evidence, like you said, against Clemson. We have three very, very capable tight ends of doing all the things necessary to be a tight end, blocking and receiving. So forget having Lindsey and whoever on the field. Bring in Stays and Raritan's out. Who's the third tight end now? Evans. Evans stays in May. Bring in Estime and Tyree, and now good luck blitzing, because we're either going to block it properly and get something out of it, or you're going to let one of those pass catchers, because that's what they can be as well, open. And I didn't.
All they have to do is release on a quick seam route, and that's
Yes.
like 5 yards every time.
Yes.
And it should be more because once he catches it, unless there's a guy right on his hip, because Mayers tends to just like kind of fall down when someone just brushes his arm.
And I'm the guy who's going to go jumbo package, overload to the strong side, to the wide side of the field, motion the offside tackle for a kick out, and just do a freaking 28 and 29 pitch. Like, I'm sorry. Like, this is where we're going. I'm broadcasting it to you. You are not going to stop us. I'm going to get a mountain of muscle in front of you. And
like
mow
this
you
is the
down.
play. We're gonna run it. Okay. I don't care if you know what play we're calling. We're still gonna out execute and out muscle you. I agree with Red Snapper right there. Well, we don't want to spend the whole time on Navy. I mean, obviously, if you guys want to talk about that, we'll talk about that. But a little more open forum tonight, just because. I don't have my traditional script here, but yeah, anything from Navy to Minchey to the backup college. So Justin Cates, you've been invited to speak. Mark it down.
I want to talk about the bastard child.
What was that, Red Snapper?
I want to talk about the bastard child.
The bastard child. The floor is yours.
No, I want to shift topics. We're coming up with acronyms, so BC, bastard child.
Yeah.
There we go.
Backup college, bullcrap college, yeah. Bullcrap, yeah.
Well, what I think is funny about backup college is it's looking more and more like Phil Dracovic is not going to play.
Yeah, his numbers are not very good.
well, that's the thing. I'm saying is looking more and more like he's not going to play. And it's kind of twofold. One of which he is injured and he's coming back. But also, supposedly, I don't care about backup college, so I'm not really paying attention. But the brief things I've noted is the backup for backup college has been playing better than Phil Dracovic. So they're wondering if they're going to insert Phil back into the lineup even when healthy.
I mean, his... and the backup is Emmett Moorhead. I'm looking at his numbers right now. Literally, this is the first time I'm looking at him. He has a better rating, and his touchdown to interception ratio is better. Dracovic has 11 touchdowns with 8 interceptions. Moorhead has 8 touchdowns for 3 interceptions. Yeah.
This is ACC, where Notre Dame is the champions of the ACC.
Correct, yes.
But this is the ACC where we've seen North Carolina win a game 63-61. We've seen Wake and Clemson go into overtime, tied at like 45. And so, like, points are being scored in this conference. And Notre Dame is evidence of that, too, against North Carolina. And
And I guess what's good for Notre Dame is Boston College is just typically not doing that. You know, if I do some of my traditional stats here, I mean, look, they're 113th. Boston College is in total touchdowns scored. They're 120th in the country in scoring offense. Arguably their worst stat. No, they are the worst in college football in rushing the football. That's the best
You
thing
love
Notre
that.
Dame has going for us. Oh, you know
Yeah,
that's what I do here, okay? Hashtag RTDB, and it ain't Boston College, okay? Jeff Halfley, their coach, clearly is he's not quite air raid, but I mean, look, I will say this: Boston College has played two teams that are in the top 25 of Sagarin, and they lost to both Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah,
But they're not good. They're not good. There's
not.
a reason. There's a reason why they're 3-7. One of those wins is over Maine.
There you go. They're a band too. I think the Maine is a band. But
It's also
there's
a state. But yeah, you're right.
That too.
Is that the band you saw the other week? What was it?
The band I saw was Ballyhoo. But
Okay.
one of the Ballyhoo was at Warped Tour, and one of the band playing was called the Maine. That's what brings it up.
Aha.
And it's spelled Maine, M-A-I-N-E.
Isn't that like the Spanish-American War? Remember the Maine, right? Okay, enough of U.S. history.
Only you would pull that arbitrary thing out.
That's not arbitrary. No, you want to know what's arbitrary? You know what? Hold on. Wait. No, this is worth speaking. You know what's arbitrary, but really important to me because this is my favorite thing in all of American history. Today is the anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition arriving at the Pacific Ocean in 1805. Oh, the joy.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Isn't that cool?
Thank you, Pocahontas.
No, that's fucking Virginia, okay? that's the Clatsop Indians, okay, up in the Pacific Northwest. All right, get it right. Read a book, Red Snapper. Come on.
But what I'm going to lead into is that there's a reason Notre Dame is 21-point favorite.
Yes, they are.
But I encourage all of you to not go ahead and bet that. Because
It's senior night. What?
Dude.
Guys, come on. Marshall's terrible. Stanford's terrible. What has this team ever done to make you so confident? I don't care how
We
terrible
beat Clemson
Boston
at
College is.
home.
Especially coming off of a scoreless second half against Navy.
Yes,
You don't think
Navy's terrible. They're all terrible. This team has done nothing for us to have any confidence.
You take
that they're
that back
gonna
about
dominate.
our Naval Academy. That is
Well,
the most
I-
un-American thing I've ever heard Adam
I
Dowling
want
ever
us to
say.
dominate them. I want us. Trust me. I will be there. I want to be able to just relax. But this team has done nothing to give you any confidence.
No, you're not wrong. It's funny. I heard if you guys listen to Irish Illustrated, I do because they just have a lot more information than I could ever dream of. But Pete Sampson talking about the Clemson game, and then obviously the Navy 0 shutout have 2 yards of offense. But he had said this team is so inconsistent, and the Clemson game. A lot of people said, "Oh, it showed me that this team is capable of dominating a top opponent and such and such." And he said, all it did was even more accentuate the fact that this team is that inconsistent.
And you're not wrong, Mike, when you say that. But my response to Sampson would be like, "Okay, name any not only Notre Dame first-year head coach, but any head coach that took over a program in the last 21 years." That was worth a crap. That was consistent their first season.
Yeah, and
I know that's kind of a throwaway comment by me, and that's kind of like a defeatist attitude, but it's also true. It's like, look, you put a staff together, you got to erase some of the mind diarrhea from the previous administration. I'm looking at you, Kelly. That's the kind of like okay, I get it. They're not consistent. I'm with you guys there, but at the same time, I'm like, look, the Marshall game alone expects us to be the most inconsistent team of college football when we are the only team that's given Ohio State some sense of a challenge, really, for a whole game, and I'm not counting the Northwestern game. Okay, and then we go and lay an egg a stink fart that was the Marshall game.
Well, but that's the whole point, Joe. Like we are the epitome of inconsistency. We give Ohio State a game, then we lose to Marshall, then we do nothing against a Stanford team that's giving up like 40 points a game. Then we go out and absolutely dominate Clemson to where there was never a doubt Notre Dame was losing that game. Then we go and put up 2 yards of offense against Navy and a half of football. Like, is there more of like? I mean, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows within a single season, game to game, half to half of this Notre Dame. Like, there's no, they are the epitome of inconsistency. Like, they really are.
Well, and all I'm saying is that, and I agree with you. All I'm saying is, I haven't, like, Notre Dame was really inconsistent Kelly's first year. Okay.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of these other, coaches, the only coach that really was consistent his first year had been an assistant there for the 10 plus years previous. And that was Miami of 2001 or 2000 or whatever year that was. You know what I'm saying? So that was just more of just like, okay, same song, different verse. Just now there's a different guy at the helm,
The only pushback I would have on that is most head coaches that you're comparing that to were taking over dumpster fires. And Marcus Freeman took over 11-1 team, even though there were some limitations. He didn't take over a dumpster fire. But when it's all said and done, after all the inconsistencies, most people thought we would be like 9-3 this year. And that's still on the table. Most people thought that's what we would be.
That's fair, but the roadmap that we took to get there isn't exactly.
Yeah, you're right. But most people thought that, and most fans that really pay attention to Notre Dame knew this would kind of be I don't know, like maybe this year we'd struggle. The schedule has got a lot harder than what Brian Kelly had the last couple of years. And
last year's schedule was terrible. It was, and they were very inconsistent last year too.
Yep, you're right. Yep, last year's schedule was a lot. I remember telling my wife, if we need to make the playoff this year, that was last year, because next year's schedule is going to be a lot harder.
I mean, there's something to say. We're talking about coaches who took over programs in disarray. I was looking at coaches who had actually won the title and what they inherited. Now, on average, these guys inherited programs, and this is over the last 20 plus years, right? Going back to like the Bob Stoops days, right? But here's some crazy shit where that doesn't necessarily fall through. When Kirby Smart took over Georgia, right? I mean, and they're the number one team in the country, as they should be. He took over a 10-win team from Mark Richt. When Orgeron took over LSU, they were finishing up a 9-3 season. Les Miles taking over Nick Saban at LSU was a 9-3 season. And then Larry Coker, when he took over Miami, okay, that was an 11-1 program left over by Butch Davis. Now, that's not always the case because, right, Holtz took over a 5-6 Faust team. Stoops took over a 5-6 team. Let's see here. Pete Carroll took over a 5-7 team from USC. Right? Gene Chizik, we won't talk about him because he had Cam Newton. So anyway.
Well, hold on, Joe. But Cam Newton is a great thing because if we have Ian Book or Jack
briefcase
Cohn,
of money, is that
well, no, that's
what happened, right?
No, but think about this team right now. Like literally, I know, yes, some things haven't been perfect, but if we have Ian Book or Jack Cohn, the two quarterbacks we've had in the last 4 years, are we not sitting at 9-1 right now?
No, I don't think we'd beat Clemson.
What?
You mean Ohio State?
No, I think that we would lose to Clemson if we had, an Ian Book or someone at quarterback, because we would not have relied on the run. The only reason we smashed Clemson is because we relied on the run.
Amen.
Okay, well that's fine. Okay, we lose to Clemson. Then I think we could very well beat Ohio State, because we very much, and you can say what you want, whatever we think Buckner's going to be or isn't or whatever, we very much kept him doing safe things against Ohio State. But my point being is that Cam Newton is kind of a good example in the sense of he was the reason they did all those great and wonderful things. And now you look at this Notre Dame team, and it's the same reason for the opposite reason. If you know what I mean, the quarterback is the reason we have 3 losses instead of 1 or even 0. It's such an obvious, because every other position has shown its ability to win football games outside of Navy, which is goofy from a defensive side. We had yet to give up 21 points as a defense all season. That's championship football in today's college football. You give up less than 21 points a game, you're doing something right. Our offensive line had given Drew Pine so much time, multiple times. Our offensive line was setting up holes for our running backs. Our receivers have shown what they can do. Our tight ends are there. What's the one spot that's so glaringly obvious holding us back?
Oh, I agree. We've seen evolution from every squad and every position except for quarterback. He has hot spots, but we haven't seen consistency.
We've
for
seen
the entire
highs
match.
and lows. That's the thing. Like we've had highs and lows at receiver, and we're kind of in a low spot right now. But hopefully, it's getting better. We've had fairly consistent in tight ends, right? And then running backs has been we've kind of had some downer years. When you had like the Tony Jones Juniors and that kind of stuff. But then we've had some high years with Josh Adams and Dexter Williams, and then Kyron last year, and and now here we are. We've got a ton of guys, and we just really can't figure out who's the best because they're all kind of good, and it's kind of an embarrassment of riches. But
just look at the bright side, guys. If we can get the quarterback right, this is the least talented team we're going to have in the next few years.
Well, and how confident are we that that's going to turn around like as soon as next year, like with potentially Minchey coming in? I mean, like let's face it, because everyone's like really excited for this guy to flip, and I'm with you. We need to have a decent quarterback every year or every other year or whatever. That's kind of a potential argument there, but with Minchey coming in, we talked about earlier in the show that his numbers are actually, if you just look at 24/7 Sports, it's not better than Buckner, and it's not even better than Pine. It's like within the weeds of Pine. But he's the number 15th ranked quarterback. Pine was number 8th ranked in his class. Buckner was number 11 in his class.
It's your show, Joe. I was gonna ask you. I was we were gonna say, hey, Joe, if you don't have it up already, go look at Pine versus Minchey's ratings.
Yep, already did. Because I was curious. I was like, oh, everyone's like, oh, this guy's great. I'm like, okay, well, he's a 4-star. I've never heard of him because I haven't looked that far down on the list of the quarterbacks, right? And he was a Pitt guy before that, and so I kind of wrote him off prior to that. But now that he's gonna flip, hopefully, to Notre Dame, hooray! And so that's a good thing. Getting a good quarterback to ensure Buckner and Pine, and just to give another option to our coaching staff as far as who's gonna be effective under center, if we actually go under center, or really in shotgun, right?
And we want a cupboard of riches. I think looking at this year, seeing the injury to Buckner, you have to have that backlog of next man up. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that, we can fault Kelly on, is that didn't exist. And so Marcus Freeman has to build that from scratch. And he's got, Book, Pine, Buckner to start with. Yes, we have Angeli, but we need to get the next 2 years with a good 4 or 5-star recruit in and start building that cupboard of riches. And then that's where your true quarterback controversy and competition comes from.
Yeah, and the fact that Minchey and Pine their ratings and stuff are so similar. I will say this though: people seem to be these experts are talking about Minchey a lot higher than I remember anybody really talking about Pine. So maybe that's good, but they're so close from a recruiting standpoint that the next evolution of this whole thing is if Minchey signs and commits Notre Dame, awesome.
I agree.
Still have to. You better be looking at the transfer portal because we don't know. We have so many unknowns, and I'm not saying the transfer portal is a known commodity, but I still look at Jack Cohn. He was way more known than anybody we had on the roster. So we still don't know what the sample size is way too small to give Buckner any type of extra credit. We know what Pine is, and we're not satisfied. We don't know what Angeli is. We don't know what potentially Minchey is. There are quarterbacks out there that are going to be transferring, and Notre Dame has put on film, and again, I don't know what these recruits and transfers look at, but if you hand them film and go, look what our receivers are doing. Look what our offensive line is capable of. Look what our running backs can do. Would you like to be under center or in the shotgun, as you like to point out, Joe, for this offense? And you can't tell me that there's not someone who has multiple games, a season or 2 or 3 worth of film for us to go, okay, that's a known commodity that can come in and do something for our program. And that we can't be just, okay, we got Minchey, now we got another 4-star, and it'll be Minchey and Buckner battling it out, and maybe Angeli, because, again, I'll say it until I pass out. Pine is not competition for Buckner, and if he is, we have problems.
I mean, right now, if I jump to the transfer portal, right, there's really only 2 guys per 24/7 Sports that are listed. Hank Bachmeier, who's at Boise State. That piques my interest. But he's a 3-star guy, a .87 dude. And then Isaiah Knowles at Navy.
Well, see, here's the thing. That's the thing. These kids aren't going to. Well, like a guy like Hudson Card at Texas. I'm using that because by default, living in Texas, I hear a bunch of UT crap. But he's likely going to transfer, but he's not going to do it until the season's over because he's one play away from getting to play again. So he's not going to jump into the transfer portal. A guy like DJU, that one's a weird one. Well, it is weird because if he's like, no, I'm sticking with Clemson, I'm all in on Clemson, as they put hashtag all in, that's their thing. If he's all in with Clemson, that's great. They're about to have 3 5-stars on campus: Vizina, Klubnik, and DJU. And DJU has, I'm sorry, we saw it on our televisions. He wasn't overly impressive to where, there's no doubt he's got that job locked down for next year. I'm spacing, but there's quarterbacks right now that are either a starter or the number 1 backup, and they're not going to announce I'm transferring until the season's over for a multitude of reasons. So looking now is not going to be indicative of what the opportunities will present in the offseason. And our Notre Dame coaching staff needs to be on point and just refresh as soon as that transfer portal opens up for the offseason.
Do you think, to kind of touch on the transfer thing, while simultaneously bringing us back a little bit towards backup college. Do you think things would be worse or kind of where they are today if Phil Jurkovec had not transferred? Like if he had stayed at Notre Dame?
I think they'd be where they are today because, as evidenced by our fan base's reaction to potentially having two great quarterbacks in back-to-back classes, freaking out, like, what are we going to do? I think we'd be in the same place because if Phil Jurkovec is this 5-star that he was supposed to be, I have a feeling Brian Kelly's staff, which was in existence until last year, would have been like, okay, we got our guy. We're good. We don't really have to really push for another quarterback. And then Freeman would have come in, and now he'd have to push, but this is his first year. So I think we'd be in the quarterback situation in a similar spot, slightly better in the sense of we'd have an established, like, solid quarterback. But
I don't know if here's the thing. Like, I still think we would have gone for Jack Cohn last year anyway, even with Phil Jurkovec, because he would have been coming in after Book if he had stayed the whole time, right? And so then it was like, okay, you got this transfer, you got Phil, who really hasn't had a whole lot of experience, and then Buckner, and that was pretty much it. I think the likelihood of someone like Pine transferring out would have been more likely had Phil stayed at Notre Dame. But Phil, as we pointed out earlier, his numbers this season are not good at all. But I think that might also be a function of just Boston College, and their identity as a program, or maybe they just don't have good running backs. I don't know. I'm not really following them that detailed, but I mean, Boston College sucks right now. They're not good, which makes me feel so great because they're a tier 2 heat team for me.
They're not good. And Jurkovec,
Adam Dowling should not be panicking or concerned.
Yeah, Jurkovec should have been our guy.
Guys, don't jinx it, please.
I'm not jinxing. This is data-oriented opinion. The numbers don't lie. I'm reading numbers on a it's spreadsheet.
Stanford, Marshall.
Hold on. Back the bus up on Stanford, because I was thinking about that this morning. Okay, everyone else, well, not everyone, but a lot of other people, and I'm looking at you, One Foot Down. One Foot Down's podcast, I heard just a brief bit, and they were like, oh, we're going to blow them out by like 40 points. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Stanford tends to put up a fight. I did the numbers. Yes, their numbers on paper were bad. But what I know about Shaw, a decent coach, he's not bad. He's had Notre Dame's number here and there. He's kind of on the fence, right? He's kind of been put in a corner, and he knows he needs to kind of do something to turn his season around, or he may get left at South Bend Airport. Okay. And so I was convinced that Shaw would bring Stanford to fight against Notre Dame, and that's what we saw. Now, that's not why we lost.
But
there's
that's
a whole bunch of other
intangibles. That's based on intangibles, not based on the statistics.
But again, it's a proven record of a coach that we are all too familiar with.
Yes, but if you listen to my show, I said it. I put it on Twitter in responses.
Please plug your show.
Well,
no, I mean that seriously, not flip it.
Okay. 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing. It's at 5 foot nothing pod on Twitter. But if you go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just put 5 foot nothing, you'll find me. I'm more emotionally driven, and I do throw some stats where Joe brings very statistical, backing of his thoughts and opinions.
I'm like The Rock in that one movie where he takes stats on a piece of paper and staples it to your forehead. That's me.
Correct. But so the Stanford game, I said this. Now this is where I sided with. I'm leaning towards Joe's side of things. Notre Dame's running backs, specifically Estime and Diggs, combined for exactly what Diggs did against Clemson. Meanwhile, we had Drew Pine throw 27 times against Stanford. Diggs and Estime combined to average like 6.4 yards a carry, but they only touched the ball 17 times, and it made no sense. It was working. I don't know. It was like 2018 Ball State with Brandon Wimbush for no reason whatsoever other than we're going to see if he can throw the football today, and we damn near lost. Well, we tried to see if Drew Pine could throw the ball 27 times, and we lost.
Well, Notre Dame also didn't have a single score on their first 7 drives in that Stanford game.
Exactly. Well, part of that is, and we saw it even against Navy, and this drives me bananas. Against Boston College, I want everyone who's listening take note. When is
I have pen in hand? Go.
When will you see Estime first on the field? Because he has yet to be the first running back out. And in fact, the first snap he saw against Navy was the touchdown he caught.
Yep, that is correct. That is
Why?
correct. I have that charted. I don't know. And his numbers were halfway decent in the first half. They weren't great, but they weren't shitty either.
He averaged 6 yards a carry. It doesn't make any sense.
Let's go.
Stats to support he should be the starter from kickoff.
Well, everyone knows he should be the starter, but why they don't do it, I don't really know.
Like I'm telling you, Tommy Reese does things that don't. It's like, are you trying to fool yourself?
He's trying to piss us off. Let's
like, I just want to know who he's trying to fool, because who are you trying to pull one over on? Because it's not working.
This is where I want to create the meme of the do your job with a mirror in front of him.
Yes. Absolutely. It's just odd, but yeah, the Stanford thing. I keep thinking back. I'm like, and it was crazy how it worked out. It was exactly 17 carries, 114 yards is what Diggs had by himself against Clemson, and that was what Diggs and Estime combined for against Stanford. Well, that's pretty effective. Why are we not doing that more?
If I go through this again, unless I screwed up somewhere here, not including the Estime passing touchdown, his first touch, right, for our first score, he had 42 rushing yards in the first half, averaging on 5 carries, averaging 8.4 yards a carry.
Accurate. Yep. For the
and
game,
he's not the starter for some stupid reason.
Correct. And for the game, he had 5 less carries than Diggs. So Diggs out carried him, but managed 18 less yards. So in 5 less, Estime had 18 more yards. And that's every week outside of Clemson, and that seems to be like some sort of weird anomaly apparently. But that was the only game that from start to finish our personnel usage was on point and correct and more than satisfied. Like, I feel like my cousin Vinny, I'm sure you'd be more than satisfied.
All my cousin Vinny references are welcome on this show.
But every other game, I'm like, what are you doing with the personnel? What is happening right now? Whether it be like red snapper, whether it be not going some sort of jumbo package, or just recognizing what they're doing and reacting to it with your personnel, or hey, this guy's effective, the other guy's not, but we're going to give him a bunch of carries just because.
See, and I think that's where the intangibles of your players, going back to the quarterback comparison, you can have the stats be so minutely 3 decimal place close that the difference between their player may be their height, may be the intangible, may be that the way the team is energized when they're on the field. You know, the difference may not be the quarterback stat, you know, their recruiting, placement, ranking, whatever. Maybe it literally is just the cohesion. Maybe it's those intangibles. And I'm going to throw it back to Joe Montana. The intangible he had to win the games he did is why he kept being put in late game, come from behind situations. He had the intangible to do that. That's why Joe Montana is touted as he is. When we have a quarterback that has an intangible, that's the thing. We don't have that. We haven't had that. Buckner, we saw, glimpses of it last year, and you saw the response of the offensive line. You saw the response of the team. Those were the things all of us got excited about in the offseason. And then, the injury happens and we're left with Pine. We don't have that intangible. And that's what we're waiting for. It's like Pine has it when we're up and we're winning, but do we have that jugular mentality to go literally the second half of the Navy game should have been the offensive line with wrestle buddies. It literally should have been just push him as we want him.
Yeah.
You know what's sad? We had a quarterback with all the intangibles, just not that next level. In Ian Book, he had all those weird intangibles that you're speaking to.
Right.
His literal physical limitations, which are no fault of his own, it just is what it is. But he had those little intangibles that you're just like, man, I wish you just had another level of your just God-given ability, and you just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right there.
Yeah, I heard something. This is so sad. This is so sad to have to say, but I forget where I heard it. But and I was one of them. I'll be honest. I was sitting there going, just call a quick slant. Call all the Navy splits, like call a quick slant. And like, you can't call a quick slant with Drew Pine. The ball's going to get batted down, and they're not wrong. That's the problem.
Well, and like Pine's not like silly slow. Now I don't know if he's faster than the corners or whoever, the outside linebacker or whatnot for Navy, but like go back to the Ohio State game, right? We had one sack, okay, in the first quarter, and then we never got to the quarterback ever again. And why? Because Ohio State is smart, and they started rolling him out into the flat and creating all sorts of space. He's got, 1,001, 1,002, not there, chuck it away. Okay? But most of the time, because he's rolling out, that's allowing the play to develop, allow his players to get open in space. Oh, and they're calling routes, so guys are kind of running kind of in that direction of where his vision is. And it's like, we don't do that stuff because apparently either A, we can't, or we're just not that creative or, amenable.
No. I'm going to call BS, Joe. Because do you remember the first play of the Navy game? Do you remember it? It was a rollout left with Drew Pine.
It's a run by Pine.
It ended up being a run, yes.
No, but what I'm saying in the second half with regards to the blitz.
Oh yeah, no. I'm saying, but to your point though, like I'm saying, like
we weren't forced. Oh, we're looking at film. We're just gonna have to do that with Pine. My problem is like my issues with the Navy game are primarily on the running situation, and I will do more analysis on really understanding of what the hell happened in the second half. But what I'm saying is, we've shown everything you're talking about. Notre Dame has done it at some point. It's just the times we should be doing, we're choosing not to.
We have it in our arsenal. We're just not using it at the correct time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Like do it when it makes sense. Like Ohio State flipping up how they're gonna call passes made sense at the time in which they do it. Like Notre Dame leaving Pine in a pocket, collapsing on him, and then balls keep getting batted down. Like there's not other than Pine just not throwing it. That's kind of a play calling situation that put him there.
100%. And I'm gonna go back to the spring game. He was so jittery,
frantic. When
you're Pine's height and you can't run the slant, like Mike, you were just saying, like you have limitations physically. Why would I put you in a situation that's going to make you jittery? Why am I going to put you in the middle of a collapsing pocket? Like, to me, those are logical, psychological things that as an offensive coordinator, as a quarterback's coach, I would be protecting my quarterback regardless of his intangibles, regardless of his skill set, to make him play his best game from a scheme and play calling standpoint. Period.
Can't argue. Well, team, it's been a good show. We're not going to kick everyone off yet, but want to kind of go around the horn about the BC game. We've I think killed the Navy thing. But I definitely think that with the outcry we saw on Twitter and just kind of the bipolar nature of that game, I think it's a symptom of other things we've seen all season, from, inconsistency, as Adam put it out there, and so did Mike from 5 Foot Nothing Pod. The inconsistency of Notre Dame this season. So that's probably another good reason why we're going to keep talking about this Navy game tonight. And it's also still fresh in our minds, because we're going to be looking forward to SC pretty much, and reflection. I highly doubt we'll be talking about Navy next week. So we'll kind of go around the horn here. We'll start with 5 Foot Nothing Pod. BC, we should kill them. We're favored by a lot. And any other thoughts?
Okay, so I haven't dove completely into BC yet and come up with a prediction, but being put on the spot, I'll say real quick, we're not covering the 21. I won't bet against it, but we're not covering the 21.
What?
There's too many factors. Senior day, the weather's going to be absolute trash, which I'm not going to be affected by.
It's not going to snow. It's going to just be cold, right?
Well, supposedly there's snow coming the few days before, so
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But it's senior day, so you got emotions high, the weather. It's going to be sloppy, so I'm thinking it's going to be something like 31-17.
Okay.
Notre Dame wins. Don't get me wrong. Notre Dame wins. There's no reason we don't win. I just don't see this covering of the spread. And here's the other thing I am concerned about that may keep it even closer than what I'm thinking is Tommy Rees and Marcus Freeman and everyone is on the offensive side of the ball, coaching-wise, is sitting there going, how can we fix the fact that we got 2 yards and no points against Navy? And maybe there's some weird concerted effort to do something that's not what we should be doing, and we have a couple nothing drives before we figure out how
run the damn ball.
Correct. I just think there's going to be something we see that we're sitting there going, okay, I understand, like an overcorrection, just an absolute overcorrection that was necessary. So I'm going to pass it off, but I'm saying 31-17. Notre Dame doesn't cover, but we win, and it's going to look weird at times.
It's going to look weird. All right. Well, your prediction, the only thing I have to say with that is...
strangely comfortable with it.
So, I'm strangely comfortable with it. So, all right, 5 Foot Nothing Pod, at 5 Foot Nothing Pod on Twitter. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for your prediction.
I'm happy to make it because I know I missed a lot of these. I'm at work and otherwise. So I'm glad I can make this one. Thank you.
All right, my pleasure. Let's jump over to Justin Cates. You've kind of been on and off here, but go ahead and jump back on. Justin, I still have your prediction from the Navy postgame show, Tingles and Tequila. I wrote it down. Do you remember what you said?
45-14.
Close. You said 45-17.
There you go, 45-17. Styles makes fights.
Unless it's changed.
They're going to cover, and I'll tell you why. Styles make fights. They can't run the ball. They're really bad at protecting the passer, really bad. They don't know who they're going to start at quarterback. Phil Dracovic, He's got working through a concussion. He's got other injuries. I actually sort of like the other quarterback. Foskey's going to break the record. What happened last year on Senior Day? Do you remember?
Sunday last
We
year.
pummeled a really, really bad ACC team, just like we're going to do this Senior Day. We beat the crap out of Georgia Tech.
That's right.
And it's gonna be a repeat this year. But like I said, styles make fights.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Boston,
we destroyed them 55-0.
Yeah, Boston College this is bad. And by the way, I said Notre Dame would not cover against Stanford, so I'm not a Pollyanna.
Oh.
But I mean, if you know enough and you watch it, Boston College is really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Notre Dame. And let me just say, this Pete Sampson's such a blowhard. Like, there's no bigger cop out on the planet than saying, "Well, they're really inconsistent," because guess what? You're always right, no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, yeah, well, they're really good against Clemson, but I can't say they're good because they're inconsistent. I'm so tired of Pete Sampson. He's lazy reporting. If it's anything about the games, it's terrible. I like the stuff outside the games he does, to be fair. But yeah, I think Notre Dame will cover. I think the Colts going to play to their advantage. I think they're going to do well. I think they're going to cover. They're going to win. I'm going to stick with. I can't change it. Tingles and Tequila, 45-17. There you have it.
I'm with you. I like this. I'm okay with this. All right, Justin Cates, thank you so much. Holes on 35.
Oh, hey, wait. I forgot. Make sure you head over to Etsy. And you can find yourself in that nice the Fighting Irish Faithful store. Get yourself a hoodie. It's hoodie weather, onesie. If you're having a baby coming or on the way, support our guys. Head over to Etsy.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you. That made me smile so much. Well, Wholesome 35, you've been requesting to speak, but you haven't jumped on. We kind of did an open forum tonight, a little different format tonight than kind of our usual. We just go down the list and let everyone say whatever they want, and then we go to the next person, just kind of bouncing around, a little more chaotic, like we're sitting at a bar, arguing about stuff like running games and whatnot. So, what's your opinion?
Hey, family.
What up, family?
I've been traveling the past week, so been missing the show. So I will say that I was at the St. Louis airport last week, and I was wearing my white Shamrock Series hoodie. You know what I'm talking about. And I kid you not.
You didn't buy a hoodie, a white hoodie from the Etsy store?
No, I got the authentic Under Armour white hoodie.
Oh, so you have lots of money. That's what I just heard. Okay.
But anyway, I kid you not, I was going through security, going to my gate, to my flight, and I had 4 people stop me on the way to my gate and wanted to talk about the Clemson game because it was that big of a deal to everybody. So that was kind of exciting.
Awesome.
I was wearing that hoodie proud, man. I had my chest up in the air, showing it off. So
nice.
People were coming up to me and wanting to talk about Notre Dame football. So that was exciting.
That is awesome. Yeah. That's true. It's like few things, other than talking about your family, your children, right? If someone wants to talk about Notre Dame football, man, I'm just instantaneously let's talk, so I have to
especially if it's a complete stranger that you don't know,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Excellent.
But no, I got the Irish winning big in this game. I don't know what score it will be. It's going to be a slow, sloppy start. Hopefully Tobias gets a target again.
That'd be nice.
I'm missing me some Tobias Merriweather.
I could always use more Tobias Merriweather in my life as well. So you think it's a slow and sloppy game? You think Notre Dame covers the spread?
I think Notre Dame covers the spread. 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 I think Notre Dame
It's 21 points to Notre Dame's favor.
I do. I think they do. Yeah.
Yep. Very good. All right.
Hopefully we can get Angeli in the last 5 minutes of the ball game.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have like a senior quarterback or whatever, unless there's someone that's, who knows what's going on. We don't have to worry about that.
Oh.
My hope is that we just destroy them. Not only because I like doing that, but just get some of the seniors and some of these guys who are not going to. This is our last game at Notre Dame Stadium. Avery Davis, obviously he hasn't been playing this season due to his injury, right? But technically his last game at home. It's probably Mayer's last game at home. Patterson, his last game. Lindsey.
That's going to hit hard. That's going to get hard for all the fans to see, even though Michael's not going to be out there with his family, but everyone knows this is going to be his last game.
Correct.
At home. It's going to hit everyone hard, I think, after this game. And you start thinking about next year, is like, what does this offense look like without Michael Mayer?
Lots of running the football is what I hope, but but no, you're right. You're right. He's been a very influential foot soldier for our team.
If we don't get an answer at quarterback with this new guy coming in that's apparently going to commit.
Yep.
What do we do offensively? I mean,
we kind of touched on a little bit of that earlier in the show. So yeah, I think it's a good thing just to keep things interesting. We talked about Minchey's numbers as far as 24/7, like how he's ranked relative to what Pine or Buckner were, right?
Almost exactly. They're both 91.
Yeah. So they're all kind of in that same boat. So that doesn't like make me immediately feel better. So it just has to come down to execution and practice and things of that nature. So, well, you've got Notre Dame covering the spread after a slow and sloppy start. So,
correct. Yep.
Well, all right. Well, appreciate you jumping in.
I want to see hopefully punt blocked.
Another punt blocked.
One. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And we had another one in the Navy game. No one mentioned that yet. So, but yes, exactly.
So is 5 the actual record? Does anybody know?
Oh, I have not looked at 5 games in a row. I don't know.
It's got to be some kind of record.
It probably, not to sound disrespectful, but those are the kind of like off the wall stats that I expect ESPN to tell us. Now, unfortunately, NBC will be doing the broadcast, so we won't have the random wild card ESPN stats. Hopefully people know what I'm talking about there, where it's like, where the hell did you guys get that? The ESPN people. Usually NBC has stuff, and they have who's the rules analyst, the Terry McCauley guy. It's like, man, I swear half the time that guy is wrong. So.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. But
please do. Report back.
He's probably from the ACC.
Yeah, probably so.
Probably. All right, Holzum 35. Your host is getting tired. It's been late. It's been a long day.
Yep. Me
Have
too.
a good one.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, cheers. Holzum 35 on the Twitter. MJV84. If you want to give your prediction for the Boston College game, you can. If not, we'll jump over to Red Snapper here, and I'll have the final say, because I can throw my weight around like that. But Red Snapper, what's your thought here on this Boston College game over in Boston?
I think it's gonna be a Notre Dame slaughterhouse. I think they're gonna cover. I see it going to be, I don't think we shut out like last senior night last year, but I think it's going to be 38-3.
All right.
And for some reason, I don't know if it was Adam Dowling that just, got the mood going, but I think it is going to be inconsistent. I think it does get sparked by special teams. I think that's honestly the reason why I think we're going to cover. I don't think it's going to be some crazy defensive play or just stellar, consistent offensive play. I think it's going to be special teams does something crazy good. So
I'm just having visions of Brian Mason, yelling at the troops, sounding the horn and just telling the punt team, block it again. And that kind of shit's happening.
I want to see another 95 big ones for Tyree.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we haven't had one of those yet.
Yeah,
not this season. Okay, so you're thinking like a special teams return for a touchdown.
I'm predicting a return for touchdown.
Like, is that punt or
kickoff or punt?
Kickoff or punt?
I would say kickoff. We probably have a greater chance of it.
Yeah,
especially if the weather is crap. I think that feeds right into Tyree's speed.
I mean, they might put Salerno in. It's Matt Salerno's last game too, so they might put him in on punt team just to throw him a bone, But hey, I'll take a Matt Salerno return for a touchdown.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. That's good. Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys as well. I do think Notre Dame does well. Gosh, do they cover 21 points? My heart really wants that to happen. But I go back to this like inconsistency thing. But I will say this, looking at the numbers and the data, this is by far the most one-sided illustration of stats for Notre Dame this season by far.
But it could be a trap game if they're already looking ahead to SC.
Yeah, that is true. But Notre Dame is favored to win 94% per teamrankings.com. Now, it's not better than the UNLV game where we were 95.7. But we didn't even cover the spread in that game. The spread was 25 and we managed to win by 23. I'm gonna go with my heart on this one, not my brain, that Notre Dame will cover the spread, but we're gonna win. And I'm saying this a little bit with the stats just because there's some of these stats, the margin is so much in Notre Dame's favor, by like 70 teams separate us and them, like third down offense, like we're not great. We're 42nd in the country, but they're 122nd. Our total offense is nothing fantastic either. It's actually kind of on the lower half. We're ranked 77th, but they're 118th. Sacks allowed, we're okay. We're 47. They're 126th. The biggest disparity is tackles for loss allowed. Notre Dame's better than national champions on average. We only have 4.3 tackles for loss allowed on average this season, 19th in the country. BC is 124th. They allow 8.4 tackles for loss per game. So I think our defense should eat them for lunch, especially since they're very pass heavy. And our secondary is getting better. So that's a good thing going in Notre Dame's favor. And then yards per point, rushing attempts per touchdown, passing attempts per touchdown, all better for Notre Dame versus BC. So that's kind of where I'm going with all of this. I'm really happy that the season has turned around, to be 7-3 where we are now versus go back to Stanford or even Marshall and Cal if we really want to get dark and scary here. But we're still highest likelihood of finishing the season is 8-4, and that's kind of the meaty middle of what we want Coach Freeman to be in his first year. statistically with good coaches over the last 20 plus years that took over a program and then ultimately went to win a title. So that's a good thing. I think 9-3 is still possible. Going out to the Coliseum, but we got to take care of business first this weekend against the Eagles of backup college. So that's kind of where we're going out here. So if MJV84 doesn't want to give a prediction, no big deal. But otherwise, we're gonna just assemble the strike force here.
Assemble the strike force!
And we're going to take it to a team that we like to hate. I don't like this team. And go back to 93 and some of that crap, it's just, I don't ever feel good when we deal with Boston College. It's just this team that just really irritates me, gets under my skin. And I'm just thankful that Notre Dame is not playing them with ESPN, because ESPN always gives them more praise than what they deserve. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll close out with some bagpipes here and ship it up to Boston, although Boston's shipping over to South Bend, where it's going to be full of cold and snow in northern Indiana. Will we get lake effect snow? Probably not. It's always kind of what everyone hopes for at the end of the year, but anyone who's going to the game certainly, I'm sure, does not want that, although it may be kind of fun. This is episode 25 of season 3, and we're shipping out. Last home game, so make it count, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am at Faithful_Irish on Twitter. This is the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Have a good evening, and beat Eagles.